morning, and thank you so much. I really appreciate being invited today. The Commission has been doing a lot of work on housing over the past 12 to 18 months, and so I'm pleased to share some of that with you today and talk a little bit about where we see those synergies and opportunities with the Affordable Homes Act. But before I do that, just wanted to get into a little bit of background on the Cape Cod Commission. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Commission, we are the regional planning agency for Barnstable County. We were created by an act of the Massachusetts legislature back in 1990, really in response to kind of rapid development and growth in the region that occurred over the kind of 60s, 70s, and 80s. At the time, we obviously continue to be an attraction, a region that our retirees and visitors want to come to. We attract year-round residents who want to spend their lives here as well. And there was a lot of concern in that time about what that kind of sprawling, primarily single-family home residential development and some associated commercial kind of suburban development, what impacts that would have on our region given the critical and sensitive resources we have. So we were created in 1990 with a mission to balance environmental protection with economic progress. We continue to do that today. And our mission is kind of simply to keep a special place special. And so back when we were created in 1990, we had a regional population of year-round residents of just under 187,000 people. Today, we have about 229,000 year-round residents, and no surprise, I think, to the people in this room that we have an older population. The median age on Cape Cod is higher than both the state and the country, and the percentage of our population age 65 and older is, high compared to the state. We know that the aging population is a nationwide trend. By 2030, it's anticipated that 20% of the U.S. population will be 65 and older, but we have been seeing that trend emerge on Cape Cod for a long time. So starting in about the 1960s, we really began to see that the population 65 and older was increasing. At the same time, we really started to see this decline in other age cohorts across the Cape. And today, we certainly are continuing to see a decline, especially among the age cohort of 18 and under. So we are continuing to see that aging population, and we know that we need to adapt in our communities to be sure that we're supporting those who are aging here on the Cape. Homeowners and renters over the age of 65 represent a higher percentage on Cape Cod than elsewhere in the state. Nearly 50% of our owner-occupied homes are held by individuals 65 and older. We also know that we have an older population who are living alone. 19% of all households on Cape Cod are individuals who are 65 years and older. And I'm going to get into some of the kind of data and information on our housing stock, but that single family kind of sprawling residential development that we have here on the Cape presents very few options for our aging population. The ADU, by right in the Affordable Homes Act is a critical, I think, step to support the aging population, those who want to continue to live here but need to downsize or need to live in units that can be accessible to family or approximate to family. So there's a critical kind of need for that kind of housing moving forward. And so let's just transition a little bit to our workforce, which I think is another critical piece to supporting our aging population. We have, of course, reflecting our retiree population, a lower labor force participation rate here in the county. It's about 59% compared to the state at about 67%, and more of our residents are living on a fixed income. We have a lesser percentage of our income coming from salaries and wages. And then if you look at our top 3 industries compared to the state, they certainly reflect our region's reliance on tourism and our retiree and second homeowner population. And the wages associated with those top 3 industries are lower than the state's wages. So in terms of income, we have some challenges that our workforce faces. The healthcare and social assistance industry is second only to accommodations and food service. And one of the things that we've been kind of tracking and watching as we've emerged from the pandemic is that while many of our industries across the Cape have returned to pre-pandemic levels of employment, the healthcare and social assistance industry remains at about a 10% decline in terms of the number of jobs filled here on Cape Cod. I certainly wouldn't suggest that that decline is entirely related to housing. There are likely a number of factors. But we do know anecdotally through the work that we've done to develop a regional housing strategy, which I'll touch on, is that many employers are facing challenges with attracting the workforce and retaining that workforce due to housing challenges. And then, certainly, given what I just touched on with the median wages, our median annual earnings are lower than the state. And so all of this will kind of play into when I get into this discussion about the characteristics of our housing stock and the cost of housing on Cape Cod. We face a number of challenges, and really our wages and the cost of housing here are mismatched. So on Cape Cod, we have an incredible lack of diversity of housing. About 80% of our housing stock is single-family detached homes. We have very few opportunities for those smaller, more naturally affordable units that could either support our aging population who may want to downsize, may need a different type of unit, and also, fewer opportunities for that workforce who may be looking to enter the housing market on Cape Cod, whether it's through a rental or home ownership, to actually, enter into the market and to move here or find their own living arrangements on the Cape. On top of that, a third of our housing stock is seasonal. So a third of our housing stock is essentially unavailable to Cape Cod residents on a year-round basis. We do have a number of winter rentals that I know many people in our workforce take advantage of, but it presents a number of challenges. And so the Affordable Homes Act focus on year-round units, especially through the seasonal communities designation, is going to be critical for Cape Cod communities moving forward. It's really important to meet both the needs of our aging population as well as the workforce that supports them and fills those critical jobs. And what we do have is limited and incredibly expensive. So compared to 2018, pre-pandemic, where we had just under 2,000 units at a median sales price of about $438,000, today, and just as of a few months ago, we have fewer than 700 units on the market at a median sales price of about $819,000. So you can see that this isn't getting any easier. So post-pandemic, we are still facing some significant challenges related to availability and housing prices. It would require a household to earn about $210,000 annually to be able to affordably purchase that median price single-family home. It's just completely out of reach for those who are earning the median household income on the Cape, even further out of reach if you look specifically at our renters whose median household income is closer to $46,000. There is this huge gap in one's ability to enter into the housing market if you are a renter here on the Cape. And so, there are a number of provisions in the Affordable Homes Act that support development of units that are more affordable to a range of income levels. So beyond those who are earning, up to 80% of the median household income, but up to perhaps 120%, which is what we've heard from a lot of our communities is a significant need. There are also provisions to make the cost burden on our homeowners a little bit easier, things like through the seasonal communities designation, providing for an increase in the residential property tax exemption. But there is still just a huge gap to fill here that we need to continue to work on. And wages aren't keeping up, so this ties back into some of the other data I've already shared. Housing prices rose at nearly 3 times the rate of average annual wages here on the Cape between 2019 and 2023. If you look at specifically the healthcare and social assistance industry, those who provide those critical jobs that support our year-round population more generally, but are particularly necessary for our aging population, it would require 3 workers within that industry to affordably purchase a single-family home on the Cape. And so all of this data and information, as well as a lot of stakeholder feedback, went into development of a regional housing strategy, which we finalized just earlier this year. through that process, we were able to kind of characterize the types of challenges that we face here in the region into these kind of 4 buckets. One, it isn't allowed or it's too complicated to build new housing, especially multifamily housing. We found this very clearly through a comprehensive zoning analysis we did across the region, which identified that only 2% of zoned area on Cape Cod allows for more than 2 units to be built by right. It's too expensive to build new housing. We know a lot of things are expensive now, but building housing faces some significant challenges in terms of cost. It's too expensive to secure or maintain housing, which I think the data illustrated for you all pretty clearly. And it's hard to find and keep year-round rental housing, and that is something we hear housing assistants, for example, say regularly. Something that is more of a healthy rental market is around 7% availability. We are typically less than 1%. And so all of these challenges, the data, the input, served as the basis for development of a regional housing strategy that identifies policies, strategies, and appropriate areas for housing development and redevelopment that meets our housing supply, affordability, and availability challenges. We also know and we heard that it's critical that we maintain and protect the character and the sensitive resources on Cape Cod, so it's a critical element moving forward for us as a region so that we can continue to attract those who want to make a living here and those who want to visit, given the importance of our seasonal economy. But the plan articulated a number of principles. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I think want to just articulate how closely aligned with the Affordable Homes Act these principles are. The regional housing strategy calls for creating a greater variety of housing units, a diversity of units where people have more of a choice around the type of unit they live in, that we need to support the year-round population and those who need access to year-round units. And certainly that we need to prioritize redevelopment. 86% of our land area on Cape Cod is either already protected or already developed. We have very little land left to work with, and a lot of that land is not appropriate for development. And so where are those opportunities for redevelopment? And there are provisions in the Affordable Homes Act that can certainly support that work moving forward. And then finally, and certainly also a key element in the Affordable Homes Act, we need to do all this in a way that is resilient to climate change. We are at the forefront of climate change here in Massachusetts and are facing impacts every day, and we know that they are going to get worse. And the Affordable Homes Act supports a green and climate resilient housing stock moving forward. The Commission has created a number of resources to support all 15 towns in taking action and in implementing elements of the Affordable Homes Act and implementing priorities that they've identified at the local level, including residential design guidelines for multifamily units of a range of sizes, model bylaws that can support changes in zoning, either that are articulated through the Affordable Homes Act or other zoning initiatives that they are working toward to support multifamily housing, as well as informational resources, including a housing profile for every Cape Cod community and the county, as well as strategy fact sheets on the range of different strategies that we researched over the course of this planning process that could be used by towns or other actors who are really working to support a more diverse and affordable housing stock in the region. And so just to kind of close, I want to touch for a minute a little bit more on the Affordable Homes Act. We were really fortunate to develop this regional housing strategy at the same time that the Affordable Homes Act was going through the legislative process. We had an opportunity to provide testimony through that process and the priorities and the strategies that we were hearing and the challenges that we were hearing from our stakeholders. We also had an opportunity to design the recommendations in this regional housing strategy in a way that we could take advantage of the programs that were anticipated in the Affordable Homes Act. I think that the regional housing strategy is really going to serve as a useful tool as the seasonal communities coordinating council is convened, as the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities is really working to develop the programs and services that are necessary to support seasonal communities. And it already articulates some of what those programs might be and what programs could have a more immediate impact for our workforce, as well as our aging residents. The other piece I'll just touch on is the ADUs by right. Many of our communities did have ADU bylaws, and as we heard just a little bit ago, they were all a little bit different. And it does present challenges and a little bit of confusion, and I think this is a really great step through the Affordable Homes Act to help really promote and support implementation and construction of those units. to serve as a long-term option both for our aging population and, again, that workforce that needs to be able to enter into the market. And then something that I just touched on briefly, I think the reuse and redevelopment is critical. We have a number of larger homes. We have a number of underutilized commercial areas that could be redeveloped, maybe to multifamily housing, maybe to mixed-use development, where our older residents can age in place and not need a vehicle to access services, and have more access to the things they need and the things they might want as they continue to live here throughout the later years in their life. So the programs offered through the Affordable Homes Act that support kind of conversion and redevelopment of those types of areas, I think will be really important for our region, and I look forward to seeing kind of how those play out to support the implementation of the regional housing strategy. I'd be happy to answer questions, but I think I'll turn it back to you to move forward.